Hey, Grant, I think you're muted.
I was in fact muted. Thank you so much. Next presentation is Samir and Bruno talking about Flatpak. Gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's all yours.
Awesome. Hey, I'm Samir, and I work with the satellite team, the upstream repository, Ketelo, which you'll see this icon in the corner. And Bruno and I will present a session on Flatpak pre-installs using satellite. So a bit of background on Flatpak and where Pulp comes in. So you'll see this nice managed Flatpak images in Pulp documentation. So Pulp has the ability to serve a Flatpak registry and through that registry serve Flatpak applications. We are leveraging that in Ketelo to support the same workflow to provide Flatpak applications to hosts that register to our Ketelo. So I'll present the UI bits here. So for in our Ketelo UI, you'll see a tab called Flatpak Remotes. This is how we use Pulp's Flatpak functionality. So the first thing you do is to create a Flatpak remote, which can point to an upstream Flatpak registry. So an example for that would be Red Hat's Flatpak registry, which serves a bunch of these repositories, applications. So I'll quickly go ahead and create a Red Hat Flatpak remote. So this is the upstream remote from which we'll sync content into Pulp, and that is what will be served to our hosts. I will try to be mindful of how much time I take. Okay, so the next step after you've created an upstream remote is to scan that remote. Scanning basically goes through the list of applications that this Flatpak endpoint is serving, and it doesn't yet create the repositories. And by repositories, I mean Pulp repositories. What it does is syncs the metadata from the upstream registry and creates placeholder like remote repository records inside of Ketelo. So that looks like this. So these are remote repositories, not to be confused with Ketelo or Pulp repositories yet. So here you can see all of the remote repositories that the Flatpak remote is serving. And then you can mirror any of these remote repositories into a normal Ketelo product. If you're familiar with Ketelo, we organize our repositories into products. So you need to place your repository inside one of our products. So hopefully I've not done this before. Okay, so I did that in the test product. Let me go back and hopefully it will be finished by now. Okay. Now, in my test product, I have this RHEL 10 Firefox Flatpak, which I just mirrored from the remote. This looks like any other repository that we serve in Ketelo. So it is of type Docker because we use the container plugin to do this. It has your upstream authorization and all the fields pre-filled. So when mirroring a remote repository, you just need to specify the product that you want to put it under. And then you would go ahead and normally. So now this product, this repository actually exists inside of Pulp because this is where our integration kicks in. And then you can trigger a Pulp sync task. This will sync down the Flatpak repo from the remote. Okay, so while this happens, I'll show some other bits. Okay, so coming back to my slides. So once these repositories exist inside of Pulp, what we also want to do is to be able to provide some meaningful way to authenticate the host that will be requesting these Flatpak applications. And if you are familiar with Pulp CertGuard, you'll realize that we use Pulp CertGuard in this case for RPM content. But for container content, all of our repositories in Pulp are unprotected. So we do not use CertGuard. What we have in the past been using for container content on satellite is user login, so basic authentication. So you would do something like Podman login, give a username, password that would generate a token for you. And that token is then persisted in your host and used for future transactions. The problem with that is if you authenticate as a user, let's say admin user, you immediately get access to all of the content that is being served. So we do not have any kind of like lifecycle management around such content, which is something that RPM supports natively via PubCertGuards and the way we use it. So the solution for that came from Flatpak side itself, where they started supporting container certs. What that does is instead of relying on the Podman basic auth, you can also provide some certs which can then be authenticated against the registry to provide access to content. Okay. Yeah, so I have some challenges listed here. So with the basic auth approach, one of the drawbacks was every host that registered to satellite, the admin would have to give out the Podman login credentials to all of the hosts. And that is very specifically a problem for provisioning use cases because we cannot hand out these credentials to unprovisioned hosts, for example, right? So there is no safe, secure way to hand out these credentials when Anaconda requests it, for example. So the solution to all of this came from RHSM certs that we already use with subscription manager. That is how our RPM content is controlled. And now we are also leveraging that to guard access to our container content. And when I say container content, that also includes Flatpak and also other container content. Okay, so what we are doing now is reusing these client certificates, and I'll show how we are doing that. This works around the overhead of passing around user credentials across like multiple hosts. Enables certificate management, and also we can now integrate it with global registration. So I'll go through that as well. Okay, so for demo purposes, I have a rel 10.2. That is where all of this will come, the Flatpak cert authentication part, where Flatpaks are able to use these certificates, and also the part of the demo that Bruno will be going over. So I'll quickly show this here. Okay, so let me do this. So the first thing is this is a rel 10.2 host, local. I have a remote which is pointing to one of the.
Samir, we're still looking at your slides. Are you expecting us to see your UI right now?
Yes, let me quickly change that. Sorry about that. Okay, so
there we go.
Yeah, I'm inside a VM right now, and I'm trying to demo like client authentication here. Okay, so here in this case, this is my satellite, so that I'll be using for test here. So the first step is you add this as a Flatpak remote to your host. One thing of note here is if I do ls-l containers certs.d, and you can match the host name here. So I'll do that. Okay. So the place where we put our container certs are in this exact directory. So it should be in etc containers certs.d and your host name of the Flatpak remote. And if I do this, you'll see these are all soft links to the RHS inserts. So they go into the entitlement certs, entitlement key, for example. So all of these are soft links to the certificates that subscription manager places on the host when you register to Satellite or your Capsule. Okay, and once you have this, you can, for example, I can go to apps. You'll see Firefox. You can select your source. So you can select it as a RPM, which will stop existing after 10.2, I believe. Firefox will only be available in RHEL 10.2 as a Flatpak image. So you can select, you'll see Satellite is now a valid source to install, and I can start installing this, which on this VM might take a while. But yeah, so you'll see the installation starts here. So, okay, I will go back to my slides. And where are my slides here? Okay, so that's that. I think I am close to my time, so I'll just do a recap. So what we have changed with our satellite Flatpak setup is we have provided a UI. You can now go through these steps and create what content you want to enable. Then you can create an activation key as you would usually for RPM content. And then you can use global registration that we support. I can quickly go with that. So I was using this as an example. Let me go to an activation key. So I have one activation key here, which, okay, it's a bit slow. Okay, so for example, I have an activation key here, which is consuming content from our library environment. So it has access to everything. I can generate a global registration command that can then be run on any host, which will register that particular host to our satellite system. So let me do this. Activation key selected here. In the Advanced tab, now we have a setting to set up the container registry certs. So this will automatically set up your client to be able to talk to the Flatpak registry being served here. So I'll generate a command here, and then I'll hand it over to Bruno. Okay, so this is the command that you're supposed to run on any host to register it. And let me move on to slides from Bruno so that he picks up from there.
Okay, so Anaconda joins this story as also a way of an alternative way of installing those packages. Anaconda is the installer for both Fedora, RHEL, and CentOS as well, and other distros that happen to be using it. This is its current screen when you started on RHEL. For Fedora, it's modernized, and as an installer, for Linux, it touches many aspects of Linux. You have control over how the partitioning, the system has to be partitioned. You have control of network configuration. And for RHEL in particular, you have this option connect to Red Hat. Actually, it's not an option that's required. You need to either connect Red Hat CDN, or alternatively, and you can move to the next slide, please, Samir. You can also configure it to, instead of pointing to Red Hat CDN, it can point directly to satellites. And when satellite is used as a source, ever since RHEL 8, Anaconda has a support for subscribing. it does, but behind the curtain, it uses a script served from Catalog to configure subscription manager. And on Route 10.2, it will, on that context, it will also set up the certificates for fetching containers that Samir explained earlier, and that will be used for Flatpaks. We can move to the next one. So how does it work? On satellite integration, we change the full registry that you use to fetch Flatpaks, because the default would be pointing to Red Hat CDN. So we point instead to the one that Pulp served under satellites. Then Anaconda adds the appropriate certificates, and desktop team prepared a certain special RPMs that has a Flatpak pre-install on their name. For instance, Red Hat Flatpak pre-install Firefox, and it contains metadata that's required for the Flatpak pre-install feature. And it also contains some metadata with the provides identifying, hey, this is the Flatpak that I want to install. This information is used to calculate the payload size, because that's one of the aspects that Anaconda takes care. Hey, the thing that you want to install on your system will actually fit the system. If it doesn't fit, Anaconda throws an error and say, and point that out. And finally, after all that, the final step is after the payload with RPMs is installed on the image, Flatpak pre-install is invoked. It uses the PyG object API. I won't go to the code, but I have a link here. We can go to the next slide. And at this point, I think you can test this with CentOS. I was trying directly with Nightly Rel, applying changes that I was working on top of it. But at this point, it should work on CentOS as well. You need a kickstart file, and kickstart is let's say it's an advanced way of configuring and even automating Anaconda. Anaconda has its GUI. It has also text UI. And it has this alternative way where you declare things and you can specify packages, certain packages that you want to install. So this contents of a kickstart file is the minimal way to reproduce an installation with a Flatpak, in this case, the Firefox Flatpak. And you also need to specify with this RHSM comment the organization, satellite, the activation key, and the host name of the satellite instance. Next step is you serve this kickstart file somewhere. Could be somewhere on the web, or I don't know, maybe a local server on your host, and put the rel or CentOS ISO and add the option inst.ks and the URL to the kickstart file. You could do that hitting E on group screen selection, or maybe if you're using virtstall, there's a parameter that you can pass to it. Okay, I think I covered it all in time. Sorry for rushing. Any questions?
Go ahead, Matthias.
I'm not sure if I missed it, but you said something about the access to the content that you manage with the subscription certificates.
Yes.
And I know for Pulp RPM, that means that in Pulp, the content guard listens for these certificates and decides if you get the content or not.
Right. So,
so Flatpak is served via the container registry. Is that solved? Is that authentication step then moved elsewhere?
Yes. So the authentication for Flatpak and container content we are now managing inside of Satellite, because Satellite has the information on which lifecycle environments and content views a host should have access to. So when we get a certificate from a host, we identify the host, and then we can identify what content he needs to have access to. And the way we do that is we basically have our own registry proxy. So a host talks to satellite or capsule registry, where we enforce all of these lifecycle scoping and everything on the host. And then we filter out whatever we get from Pulp based on those like access. So that's how we manage that. So for example, am I sharing this? Okay, yeah. So for example, the Pulp core registry for Flatpak. Okay, yeah. So it will give you a list of all of the Flatpak repositories that Pulp is currently hosting. But if you go via the satellite registry, then you will not get that content. So if you point your registry to satellite, that's where we enforce the authentication and all the access mechanisms. So the Pulp core registry is all open. And that's how it's set up.
Yeah, thank you.
And my understanding is that each repository is for a particular package, or
Right. So
is that right?
yes. So for example, here we have Firefox, then we have Thunderbird. So each of these are like independent images, and that's how we get content from the Flatpak registries in the wild. So Red Hat, Firefox, Fedora. Was that the question? Sorry.
Yeah. And you may have covered this, and I just totally missed it. But when a user goes to create these repositories in Catello Informant, how do they specify? Can they specify the whole index, or do they have to specify each individual package?
So when you so we have that in steps. So let me go back to my Flatpak remote. So when you add a remote Flatpak to your Catello instance, for example, so for example, that will point to the Red Hat CDN for Flatpaks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you scan this registry, and it will scan all the repositories that are hosted here. So at that point, you don't have a choice. So you get the metadata of all of these repositories that are hosted in the remote Flatpak. But then you have the option to only mirror specific repositories out of the list, right?
Okay.
So only choose.
And how big is the registry right now? How many items is there to choose from?
This is the current state. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, however many. So you can count it on your fingers for Red Hat.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah. For the Fedora Flatpak registry has many more, like in the hundreds, right?
Okay.
So that's why we have this UI where we allow you to enable specific repositories that you want instead of enabling everything by default, right?
Cool. Thank you for, I think, repeating yourself. I'm pretty sure you went over this earlier, but I kind of missed it.
Any other questions, folks? Okay. Oh, Ian.
I just wanted a quick kind of shout out here. I know sometimes people in the community ask about not OCI Flatpaks, which are the ones that we support here. So if people are interested in the Flatpaks you get from FlatHub, definitely let us know. We do also support container push. So you can actually convert FlatHub ones into OCI and then upload them to Catello. But yeah, we're really looking for more data on what people are interested in. There's my plug.
Outstanding plug. Asking for more info from people that actually use this in the wild is great. Other questions, folks? Anything? All right. Samir, Bruno, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording here.